Silence, please. Please, we are starting. Silence, please. You can go to talk outside. Um, so, as I told you, uh, two of the three speakers of this panel haven't been able to join us. So, we have only one speaker. But when she finished, Democratic Modernity Academy of Democratic Modernity, who is the next keynote, is also related to the Kurdish questions. So he will join us for the debate. So it's not only her, okay? It's more people on the table. And after the break, we will have the Academy of Democratic Modernity keynote, okay? So he kind of supplies take the place of the people that is not here from Kurdistan. Um, so we have the privilege here to have with us Azize Kai, a PhD student from Sheffield Hallam University. Uh, she's going to talk about micro-hierarchies and a lot of interesting stuff, genealogy that is happening in Kurdistan for the last years, and strongly inspired by social ecology and opposite social ecology is very inspired in the Kurdish movement. So yeah, I think it's a very, very nice topic. So without more presentation, please.
You can see I'm too small. Thank you very much for being here, and thank you very much for organizing this great, valuable conference as well. Um, yes, I'm Azize, and I come from Turkey, but I live in the UK right now. I'm doing my PhD and writing that stage. And so this presentation is going to be as a part of my research. And I titled this presentation A Feminist Approach to Challenging the Psychological Dimension of Hierarchy, the Kurdish movement's practices of genealogy and Tekmil. The reason that I have chosen it, I say a feminist approach because I see that genealogy and the ideology of genealogy, it's a feminist ideology and it's influenced also by intersectional feminism that we will see and black feminism as well. And the other part of my title is the psychological dimension of hierarchy. It's used by Andy TRISE in terms of how Bookchin clarify the epistemologies of rule. So this micro-hierarchy bit has a question mark because it's still on the process. Whether to call it as a micro-hierarchy, which I would love to call as a micro-hierarchy, awareness of me as an internalized hierarchy. We from the coachings that describe hierarchy as a psychological, cultural, and social system of command, coercion, and obedience. Um, so I have chosen this slide, and my aim is here feminism, but also not to undermine the need of the arms. I'm coming from the Kurdish woman's point. So it's unfortunate that Kurdish women became more visible after 2014 with the defeat of Kobane. have seen a lot angels of the command or heroines. Who are they? I would be appreciated if the ideology of Kurdish movements will be talked by the Western media as well. And that's the one reason I have got this slide. And not surprisingly, that to capitalize, as Putin says also, that it's not surprising to see that even the alternative ideology like a text. And Arvin Banrat, she is one of the fighters, Kurdish fighters in Kurdistan. They should be ashamed of themselves. I all these quotations, and again, it's part of the genealogy that I can just maybe even tell you right now. We can always argue about, I mean, using the vocab, like particularly here, fighters against, or when, it could be anything, because the aim of the one part of aim of the genealogy is creating a new vocabulary, a new practice. Help us to recreating the world. It's more egalitarian, just. Had to fight, didn't want to, but had to fight. And Sakina Justice, she's one of the key figure, and she was assassinated in France in 2013. It's not just against the power of the state, it's also against the societal codes, which have been created by and for the state. That's why I went to the mountains to fight against the state. At the same time, as I am fighting for Kurdish rights, our fight is against the patriarchal structure of the state. Today, we are working for peace, and peace should include the rights of different ethnic groups like Kurds, and also the right of women. Until both of these are achieved, peace. And without this, I will continue to fight, whether the state is Kurdish or Turkish. So this quotation is so important to me, and that's why I just want to take that whole quote, because some critics that's made towards the Kurdish people or Kurdish women, that it states they have got like this ideology of statism, and also why Kurdish woman is militarized or armed. So I think this why. But what Kurdish woman want? Again, this is a quote of one of the Kurdish writers I got from the library's writing. Don't know us because of our guns, but because of our ideas. And just to summarize, what is the ideology of the Kurdish movement? It's basically Jin, Jian, Azadi, which means woman, life, freedom. So the purpose of this presentation is in the struggle against patriarchy and hierarchical mentalities. Again, these micro-hierarchies is social question marks. And the hierarchical mentalities it fosters. Going to be the practice of Tekmil, which is a method of critics and self-critics that directly addresses internalized. I got this quotation from bad books because I love these things. Full stop, so there is nothing else. Patriarchy. It's a great definition. Because it shows us that really, if we are talking just directly to each other right now, we are all influenced by imperialist, white supremacist, capitalist patriarchy. Either. And that's the one reason I love genealogy. Because genealogy starts from this acknowledgement. So keep this question, if it's okay for all of us. Again, these three quotations that I got, we analyze not the moment, but history. So, yes, not individual, but society. Another quote, okay. So, why? Because maybe I forgot. So, the social is going to be social hierarchy, which we can call it patriarchy or capitalism. And some to macro. Our fight is not just against power, is the cultural codes, which might be more visible. Like patriarchal culture might be more visible, let's say, in Middle Eastern countries, but the individualistic culture, again, this is a culture, can be more visible in Western countries. And they are the same, they have both same problematic issues. So that's why our point is not only patriarchy that we are ingrained by, but also capitalism. Like why we have this individualistic thinking? Why we can't trust each other? Thank you very much. Because when I heard this poem, because I just amazing that we have to talk about that. Why we can't trust each other openly. So this is the cultural part of it, which is I would most probably call as a meso-hierarchy. And the micro-hierarchy I'm planning to call, it's the, and this quotation, 50% of our struggle is against our enemy. And who is our enemy? Western, white supremacist, capitalist, patriarchy. And the 95% is against ourselves, which we are internalized, even consciously or unconsciously, willingly or unwillingly. Oops, sorry. So, we only talk about like all these things. Also, we are talking. This is what genealogy also thinks. And the Kurdish woman. So this is a Greek, Dilar Dirik's quotation. The Kurdish woman movement marched towards autonomy as journey from Habur, which is existing, to Hubur. I hope I pronounced it right, my Kurdish friend, they can help me. And being by oneself. So this Habun and Hubun reminds me say Bookchin saying what it is and what it should be. So yeah, what it's imperialist, white supremacist, capitalist patriarchy. And again, when I say that I would appreciate if we can understand that I'm not only talking about the socially, I'm talking about the socially, culturally, and psychologically. And what should be or being oneself. So this is a process. Maybe we will not reach that point, but the effort is made towards that what should be or being oneself. I think it's the key things. So, so what should be or being oneself for genealogy is being oneself is that building willingness, building commitment, responsibility to each other, respect, and mutual trust. So, genealogy has five. Oh, I just remember something. I just need to go back because it's important. um, it's just this quotation that because it's also important that we were talking with Emmet last time. So this that 5% of our struggle is against our enemy, and 95% is against ourselves. And Emmet, she just made this suggestion, which I value a lot, that maybe instead of saying 95% is against ourselves, maybe 95% of effort to empower ourselves. Yes. So we've got like this five principle of genealogy. It's the love for homeland, Velat Parazi. So Velat Parazi shouldn't be understood as a patriotic. So it is love for homeland. But homeland, it's not only a land, like particularly when we talk about the woman's life, love towards the homeland, that it's a culture, it's an identity, it's ecology. So woman love for the homeland is read against the male dominated nation, so it's not anything to do with patriotism, so it's against it. And border, nation, or state. So it's the woman love for homeland is a universal love for humanity, for ecology, and for the earth as well. We have got free thought and free will, it's another principle. So, because genealogy says that we are colonized, and Black feminism also says that our mind is colonized. So we need to either reclaim it or recreate it in a more ecological and egalitarian way. and non-patriarchal. But to do that, we definitely need an organization, and we definitely need to organize. And for Kurdish women, it's so important having an autonomous women organization. Not to be led by a male dominated mentalities. So it doesn't mean that woman does not have these hierarchical mentalities, which we will see in the Tekmil process, but still not be dominated by males mentalities. So struggle, it's yeah, struggle that's so everything is a struggle. Like well, I said to that creating a new vocabulary, for example, this is a part of struggle. Or rethinking or create a more practical solutions as well. So this is all the struggle. So when we say the struggle, it's not, we are not talking about an art struggle. We are talking like teach things that how, the way how we decolonize our mind and how we recreate the science, how we rebuild this new community, a new society, which is trying to implement it in Rojava, which is it's a Kurdish and it's Western Kurdistan. Just to mention that how important creating a new vocabulary. So when Rojava, which is again as I said to Western Kurdistan in Kurdish, then after some time, I think it was 2018, they want to call it not Rojava, Autonomous Administration of North and East Syria. I would love to underline that because for Kurdish political discourse and for Kurdish women movements, it's so important to create new vocabulary, to include, not exclusionary, but to include everyone. And that's why, even though my heart is always say Rojava, but just because of this principle, I would rather to say ANES, which stands for Autonomous Administration of North and East Syria. So, genealogy. Okay, I promise. So, what kind of method genealogy uses? It's definitely reinterpretation of reality from the female perspective. But it is again, it shouldn't be misunderstood, not creating a matriarchal, hierarchical society. It's just retaking these patriarchal mentalities, which is only be possible just to create a new ideology and new practice and new vocabulary that we are imposed by Western white supremacist capitalist patriarchy. So it's a micro-hierarchy, but so this is so important one. So the mentality of individuals, I would like to mention about the complementarity, the Bookchin's ethic of complementarity, and the importance of the mutual trust. So if you just consider, I don't know, you don't have to, but this is how I just imagine. You know, these green things, let's say this is the idealized world. So we have got two faces here. And let's say this green things refers to the ideal world. But what we can see, both faces, still it is not green yet. And maybe and most probably it is not going to be green whole. But the important thing is here complementarity. So each individual, how we are going to complement each other, regardless of what I give or what you give to me. So the ability, what we can do, and also this is going to, it has to be, not going to, it has to be with the capacity of ourselves and with the limit of our conditions, circumstances, our experiences, backgrounds, traumas, that everything can be. And technique process. Sure. So the signal process, it's a method of critics and self-critics. And I will just give the keywords, and then most probably we can just continue from there in the discussion session. So to me, the most important part is havalti, which in Kurdish can be comradeship or friendship. And this havalti has to have trust in it. And for the technical process, that we need to have humility and respect and desire of personal growth. And challenging egos, it is also so important because most of maybe conflicts comes from different where, but what is this different place feeded by? Most probably it's feeded by our egos. So it's challenging our egos as well. So confronting internal oppression and fostering a shift, even though the sound so far might be individual, but the aim of this self-critics and critics is coming from individualism to create more collective mentalities. And of course, breaking down hierarchies and fostering a liberatory mindset. So I'm finished. Just to finish, so all these things, it is not, oh, we done it, we are finished. No, we are not finished yet. So it's a process. So when it's a journey, or we call this journey as a revolution as well. So it is a process. And this process, that's the process, give a source of hope. And that's the one reason Jineology always says that liberation is a continuous process. So it's not done yet. It wouldn't be done by tomorrow, and that's why I heard like during my interview and my friends, Kurdish friends who has been in Rojava. So anytime you go there, you will not see the same thing. So it's just changing. Individuals changing, according to community is changing. Thank you very much. I done now.
Okay, so we have 20 minutes until 5:30 to make questions. Please, in these 20 minutes, it will be not a lot of questions, but I think after this, in the academic of uh, sorry, Democratic Modernity Academy, we can still talk about the Kurdish question. So, if you want, in the break, you can still talk about Kurdistan, and then we continue. So it's kind of continuous theme. So, and yeah, and Alice, are you joining us? And yeah, who want to start? Please stick to 1 minute. I will be way more strict than I was with her. Okay? Yes.
Um, I'm hoping you can put two things together for me. There's all this conversation, all the amazing things we hear about Rojava or Northeast or whatever the name is. And then the images, let's say, I don't know if you saw the movie last night.
Unfortunately, now I wasn't able.
Where you look at a city in there and it looks exactly like other places. there's a market, people buy and sell, there's people getting jobs, all of these things. Can you connect the dots? How does the process of genealogy and Tekmil affect the daily life of people? What's the relationship? Is the question?
Yeah. We'll start, but then I will ask my friends that have been maybe in Europe, because the one thing, and I quite understand and so agree with genealogy, that there is a suspicious to academics, because it's particularly universities, because it's led by the positivism. So it's the one reason that genealogy is kind of rebuilding a new ideology, believing that the positivism is also like Eurocentric and Western introductory.
Yeah.
So that's why, during my research, I tried to, unfortunately, I couldn't go to the Rojava, but what I did try, because I just don't want to be seen, right, and told that someone, as an outsider, who tries to objectify the Rojava. So that's the one reason I choose some people, like interview people who live in Rojava, who fight for Rojava, and I try to get like internationalists, Kurds, non-Kurds, LGBT activists, and then I try to combine just to generate a right knowledge of information. So the first thing when I said to Rojava, and then they just changed it as an Anas, I think this is the first answer that I might come, because it changed the life in Rojava. Because Rojava, because it's a Western Kurdistan, the sound might be exclusionary, because in Anas there are Arabs, Armenians, Christians, non-Muslim, secular, non-secular, so all these kind of things. So I think this is the one way how genealogy has impacted on the people's life. And the other things, co-presidency, which is 40% of male, I mean, there's a communes and assemblies as well. So each communes has to have a male and non-male. So this co-presidency. And also, like say, if there's some areas it's dominated, like the majority of people that say it's Kurds, so this co-presidency cannot be Kurds in this area. So definitely it has to be represented by someone who is not Kurds. And I think all these things comes from this Tekmil process, like this genealogy. And by the way, when I say Tekmil is not really new things for a Kurdish political. Even like during the time that it was dreamed to create the Marxist-Leninist state. They have this Tekmil process, but as I said, that they improved and still they are trying to improve. So I think this is all I can say, but maybe my friends would have more to say.
Sure. I would add maybe some points on genealogy, please. If I speak loudly, can people hear me, or do I need to rise? Okay. So, that's better. All right. Yeah, so that's a good question. And I think maybe we can take it even a step back in terms of genealogy. What is it in its essence? It was talked about already a bit in the presentation. But if we take it maybe first etymologically, we see within the word genealogy, jin, so the Kurdish word for woman, and ology as a science. And very directly, we can understand genealogy as a science of women. In this way, as the friend already mentioned, it's a science that looks to push back and to go against, in a way, the positivism of modern knowledge production. The way that within university systems we see how like the elitism of contemporary forms of knowledge production, and also the siloing of knowledge into this disparate disciplines. For example, or how we see biology and sociology, history and sociology as something that are discrete and rather not recognizing the interconnections of many of these things. Genealogy also comes from the understanding that, okay, science fundamentally is in need of a paradigm shift, as Abdullah Khan proposes, that within this paradigm shift, we need to see how women are within this, how we center women within this shift, and create a science of women. Also looking back to questions of history, to knowledge that is existing within societies, things that maybe have not been privileged but are continuing to exist, even all the while structures of capitalism, of the nation state, and patriarchy are actively working to oppress those that are in opposition to it. Within the context of Rojava and say the revolution within Muslim, or broadly speaking, I would add a couple of things. So we understand the revolution that is ongoing is first and foremost a women's revolution. Abdullah talks about or mentions the fact that society itself is not free until women are free. And so centering the need for women's liberation in a revolutionary process. In this sense, we can see genealogy as the science or the method towards building this revolution. Within Rojava, within northeastern Syria, one practical thing that has been done is the creation of spaces such as the Andrea Wolf Institute, which works specifically on topics of genealogy. Andrea Wolf, yeah, the Andrea Wolf Institute, which works quite specifically on topics of genealogy, as well as localized centers in different cities, the ways like the creation of spaces where women can come together to ask these questions, to work on the production of knowledge, to do self-education. And this is also an essential part of genealogy. So maybe this for now.
I think my question was not.
Excuse me.
Okay.
Yeah. If we want another question, you have to be short.
Okay. Yes, I was in a way speak after the break, but I think regarding the question, it's important about the context of the geography and the context of the society we are speaking of is important. So when we speak about the Kurdish society, we speak about a society which lived almost 100 years under colonial rule. It was a society which didn't spoke for 100 years their own language. So it's also important to understand like what happens in Rojava, also as anti-colonial revolution. It's a society which is forming their life since the last 10 years, the first time with their own form of governance. That's, I think, something important. Like they were not even able to speak their own language, Kurdish, in school. So I think that's one important dimension when we speak about Rojava. And also complete your question, I didn't saw the movie yesterday, like you saw markets, people, we will also have markets in democratic confederalism. I will speak about it, like people will go to the market, they will buy things. The question is, what do you mean with revolution? When we speak about the revolution in Rojava, we speak especially apart from the moment of taking power from the state, also about the revolution of consciousness. So it's not to look how the cities look, it's also maybe part of long term. Like in the last 10 years, we have especially a revolution of consciousness, and that we'll not see in the pictures, in the videos. So like in this 10, 12 years, you have a special revolution of consciousness, of mentality, and genealogy is one part of it. Like genealogy is not only the way to understand Rojava, it's one important pillar that we also try within revolution to struggle against patriarchy, but it's also a struggle of the society for self-determination under colonial rule.
Okay, thank you. So we have time for one more question, and we will really appreciate to is a person that haven't participated yet. If that is not possible, okay, you haven't participated yet. Okay, so you go first. Thank you.
So really curious about Tekmil, and we didn't get to say as much about that. So I was just wondering, to make it a bit more real, like, could you give us an example of like everyday Tekmil in conversation?
Yeah, sure. I think okay. I've been Jineology camp last year in Scotland, and we did have like the micro Rojava in that. Try to have like our communes, try to self-sufficiency, and we have this Tekmil process. Like the end of the day, that we could have even here or any conferences, because it does really empower organization and also individuals as well. Like we used to have two different Tekmil. The first in the communes, and I say the commune, we were like altogether we were 40 women in there, and let's say like 5 each commune, so 4 communes or 5 communes, and then we used to have, I mean, we had every end of the day this Tekmil process, and just seeing what could be done differently, or what is the shortness of the, like say, organization, or what is the self-critique of us that we could have done but we didn't. So always these critics and self-critics has to be together. I'm saying that because let's say, because if we take this technical process in daily life, let's say in Western countries, for example, because we were in the UK and in Scotland, and most of my colleagues, they are internationals as well. So some cultures, I don't want to name, it's too kind, nice, so that's why they really don't want to make a critics. But it has to be done critically. So again, being too kind, it's kind of a way of how we talk to our egos. Or kindness, is it really like kindness? What's the meaning of the kindness, for example? So that's why it does sound like a little bit domination, but it has to go with the critics and the self-critics together. So we make that, and then at the end of the day, so we each comments has a representative. So this representative, they go, so they bring these feedbacks or reports that based on the critics and the self-critics made in the comments, and then at the end of the conference, each day which was reported and which was 4 days, so we evaluate it to kind of make preparation for the other genealogy, the following genealogy camp. And also, I mean, I can just give this expression that, you know, that when I leave it, and then I just start doing this technical process in my workplace, in my school place, in my family. And that everything that we can make this technical process. So it is like so practical and so effective, I would say. Thank you. I don't know.
Okay, so we have 5 more minutes, so we have another question. You raise your hand. Who raised it first? You remember? You decide who goes. You go to the okay. You.
I think it's important to know that Rojava is a part of a larger geography called Kurdistan. It's not this, and it has a very long history of struggle. I mean, you know, thousands of years, but also struggle of the current that Kurdish movement, which has been going on since the 1970s. And also in Syria, actually, is not a new thing. And I just wanted to mention to have a little bit kind of wider perspective. And I think about you could tell us more about actually the reinterpretation or reconceptualization of certain names, terms, concepts. Because more than a name of a it is of course more inclusive to call it in Syria because of the diversity that the administration works with and emphasizes inequalities. But there are also terms like democracy, democratic nation, friendship. All these terms have been actually, like within genealogy, but also political theory of development, have been reinterpreted in the way to serve us in the revolution and in the way for them to be more inclusive. So okay, I'm finishing anyway. So I just want to say that like the interpretation of terms is really not limited to names of places, but it's something very deep and there is a whole political philosophy behind it in order to build something new, in order to build a revolution, a liberation that is inclusive for everyone and that is adaptive also, adaptive to different contexts, that we can build like a very strong struggle that will in the end up in democratic modernity, another term, which will be a world of equality, women's self-liberation, ecology, and interconnectedness. In a struggle and finally overcoming of the capitalist way of life within nation states where we live now. So I just want to say that this is much deeper thing, reinterpreting the terms, not only
By the way, I just would like to clarify the autonomous administration of North and East Syria. It's not my reinterpretation. It is the social contract of Rojoa that they change this and they prefer. This is this is Rojoa. This is a social contract. So please do not I don't want to be misunderstood. This is not my reinterpretation. And I just mentioned in my heart, I would love to call Rojoa because I love Rojoa, like Western Kurdistan, but no autonomous administration of North and East Syria, it is not my reinterpretation. It's at all, yeah.
philosophy of the Kurdish movement is interpreting terms differently. And I think you referred to that, but you didn't say, you only mentioned the name of Rojava that it made it more inclusive. But I'm saying that it's making a lot of other political concepts also more inclusive. So that was going my mind. Okay, not that you are.
Thank you.
Any something to add? Yes. Right. Okay, so we are 5:30 is the end of this panel by now. Thank you so much. And we will continue with Turkish question later with our comrades from Democratic Modernity. And half an hour of break, and then we continue with the keynote. Okay, similar theme. So if someone couldn't ask now, maybe we can continue the discussion later. Thank you.
Okay.
Do you have any questions? How do I pronounce your name? Ali Titi.
Yeah, like this.
And from the
From the
academy,
you can just say from the academy and then I can explain.
from the academy of Montreal.
But it's complicated.
I say it in Spanish.
Academia
de la democracia, de la democracia, de la modernidad democrática.
Yes.
And when I say in English, I say
It's not direct.
la modernidad democrática. You know, it's academic. Modern, the modern democracy.
Democratic modernity.
Yes,
No problem.
I say at the opposite because of the Spanish. So
no problem.
yeah.
You don't just say the name and
Yeah.
then I
Okay, thank you. So it's Alice.
Yeah. The PDF you can maybe.
Yes, perfect. Because I have problems with the PowerPoint, but with the PDF for sure we don't. So I will leave your presentation just the only thing.
Okay.
So it's no confusion.
Perfect.
Here it is.
And when I right left, it's
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. You need anything else?
No, thank you.
How much time you spend?
I think I have 1 hour, but I will make it, I think, approximately half or 40 minutes to have time for questions.
Perfect. Yes. So I will show you when you have 5 and 1 minute left.
Yes, but I have
According to 45 minutes. Yes, it's your option to have the discussion or not.
Okay.
But I will just According to this, I will tell. So you have a conscious time,
Okay.
right?
Yes, fine.
And at we will try to end at 7 in the morning.
Okay.
We have assembly at 6. We have to the party tonight.
Okay.
So let's try to
Be on time.
be on time. Yeah.
Okay.
And I will do my best. Show me problem. I think this doing long. That's a great so I will do my best. Okay.
I will let us have time for questions.
Thank you very much. See you later.
Yeah.